Anyway, today is Social Security 101. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so we can start going through the presentation. Again, this presentation is for all of you. So if you have questions as we move along, please feel free to interrupt me at any point. I'll be monitoring the chat, or Vanya will let me know if we have a question in the chat. Can you hear me okay, Vanya? Everything good? Awesome. Great. So, and you can see up here on the screen, correct? You have my presentation up here? Or are you just looking at me right now? Yep, I am sharing the presentation right now. Okay, great.
Yes. Did you want to go full screen on that? Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
thank you.
There we go. All right, great. Okay, so again, this presentation is for all of you out there. I've been doing the Social Security now presentation for nearly 2 decades. And we've seen a lot of changes in the system. We've seen a lot of things go away that were advantageous to beneficiaries, such as yourself, the file and suspend, restricted application. And we've seen some adjustments that have been very helpful for you. A perfect example would be the cost of living adjustment that was received for beneficiaries, whether claiming or claiming in the future. This past year was nearly 9%. So remember, if you take nothing else away from this presentation, please remember that Social Security is income that you cannot outlive. And so the goal of Social Security Part 1 and Social Security Part 2 is to try to help you realize the value of Social Security, the value of your benefit, and how to bring it full circle into your retirement and how you pair it up with the different sources you have in retirement. Quick question from Ken Jacoby. I just want to know how Social Security is coordinated with UCSD pension. Do I get my full Social Security along with my pension? Well, that's a good question, and it depends on what tranche of a UCSD employee you are. If you are a UCSD employee that has contributed to Social Security, meaning that I believe it was pre-1978 or 76, someone that's more knowledgeable may know out there, UCSD employees were not contributing to Social Security, then you may not get a Social Security benefit. But if you have been contributing to Social Security through your monthly paychecks or your bi-weekly paycheck, or bi-monthly paychecks, then the simple answer is yes. You'll get your full pension along with Social Security. We'll go over how it's taxed as well, and several other different facets of Social Security. Today is just introductory, so this is Social Security 101, right? And so we're going to go through some of the basics of Social Security and things you should be thinking about when claiming your Social Security benefit. So here's the problem. People are hurting their retirements by making really bad, costly decisions in and around Social Security, all right? So a couple things to know what we're really going to go over today. You have several claiming options. Remember that the decisions have far-reaching consequences. What do I mean by that? Well, Social Security, if you have a spouse or a partner and you're legally married, your decision may affect your spouse in a much larger way than you may have previously considered. So that's something I'm going to go over as well. It impacts both spouses. The system is not bankrupt. It's not a Ponzi scheme. We'll go over some of the financials here. And then benefits likely help a family member. They can help children as well. I'll go over some of that. And then just remember, friends aren't experts, especially when it comes to talking about the efficacy of Social Security and whether it's going to be there or not. So here are the things that we're going to address. We're going to address, will it be there for me? How much can I expect to receive? When should I apply? One of the things I will comment on prior to getting too deep into this presentation is that I have 2 sets of questionnaires, a singles questionnaire and a couples questionnaire for UCSD, a Maritime Retirement Association, and only those 2 groups. I do free Social Security analysis. So if you'd like one of those questionnaires at the end of this presentation or at the end of advance, feel free to email me. Vanya has my contact information, and I'll put my email in the chat. Or if you want to do it, Vanya, for me at some point, if you want to email me, I could provide a free Social Security analysis if you would so like. And then will Social Security be enough to live on in retirement? An interesting fact, real quick, on Social Security is about 1/3 of our country that is in retirement. Their only source of income in retirement is Social Security. And the average retiree, Social Security is about 1/3 as well of their retirement income. So let's talk about the value of it, and will it be there for me? So here's the OASDI Trust Fund numbers. This is from the end of 2020. I don't have the updated 21 numbers, but I'll have them for the October presentation. So the trust fund balance as of December 31st, 2019 was just under $3 trillion. You can see the total income and expenditures. What is income? Income is just your FICA taxes that you pay on a monthly basis to Social Security. If you're a business owner like myself, I pay FICA taxes not only for the employee side, but the employer side as well. That's where Social Security gets its income. Expenditures is pretty self-explanatory. It's what's going out to beneficiaries of Social Security. And you can see in 2020, despite the pandemic and a massive drawdown in the value of securities at one point and a huge number of people unemployed in 2020, the net increase in assets was still $10.9 billion. So the Social Security Trust Fund actually grew in 2020 despite the recession, despite the pandemic, and despite large amounts of. So here's the long-term projection, and this is what you probably hear about the most when it comes to Social Security, is that without reform and without Congress taking some serious action, benefits could potentially fall to 79% in 2034. Now, I've been doing this presentation at UCSD for the better part of 13, 14 years, and it seems like this has not moved a single bit, or at least the projections have not moved a single bit. So we're 11 years out from benefits potentially falling to 79%. Does that mean Social Security goes away and you don't get any? No, because folks like Vanya and I will still be working in 2034, and we'll continue to put into the system. And so the beneficiaries will continue to get some portion of the benefit that they're entitled to. The question is, how do we bring it back to solvency? And obviously that's a big political football that requires, some both Republicans and Democrats working together to solve that problem. Got something else in the chat here. Oh, just put my all right. So let's talk about some of the different reforms that are being proposed, right? Increasing the maximum earnings subject to Social Security tax. Well, in 2021, it was $142,800. I believe in 2022, it was, or in 2023 now, it's almost $150,000, or it might be $150,000. What does that mean? It just means your first $150,000 of income is subject to Social Security tax. They raise that every year, and they continue to raise that. Raising the normal retirement age. They've done this previously. Retirement age when Social Security started was 65, then it became 66. Now it's 67, or somewhere between 66 and 67 for many of you, and then 67 for Bonnie and my generations. And I would expect as we get closer to that 67 figure, that number will probably continue to move out. Many of you have been probably watching the news and see that in France, they just proposed raising retirement age for all pensioners of the state by 2 years. Widely unpopular, but these are the things that have to happen to keep solvency in some of these benefit plans, because quite frankly, we're just living longer as human beings. All right, and lower benefit for future retirees. I really don't think that is a viable solution, even though I have it on here. And the reason I say that is because I think it's, if you're a politician and someone's put into Social Security for 30 or 40 years, and then you come out and you propose to take away a portion or to means test it, I think that would be probably the last time you get reelected. And then reduce the cost of living adjustments. There are some proposals out there on how to calculate the cost of living adjustment, and changing it from CPIW to potentially change CPI, but none of those have really gained any traction. So that's, if you had to ask me what would be most likely the number one solution for bringing solvency back to the system, it's probably moving that full retirement age from 67 out to 70 for my generation, Generation X, and then the millennials. And that's probably going to be much more realistic for our true retirement age at that point, since we'll be living significantly longer lives than today. All right, so bottom line for all of you out there that are baby boomers, your benefits are not likely to be affected by any reforms that are proposed or coming down the pipe. What's a clear way to think of Social Security? As I said in the very beginning, it's inflation protected income. You've paid the premiums every paycheck, so be smart about how to collect it. Just to give you some numbers, if your monthly benefit is $2,000 today, and you live 10, 20, or 30 more years, you can see the value of that pot of future benefits that you have is worth a significant amount of money. When I do an analysis for people and I tell them that their benefit is worth $1 million, or potentially a couple's benefits are worth close to $2 million, they're shocked at how much it's worth if you live a longer life. So if you're sitting out there today and you're very healthy in your early 60s or mid 60s and thinking about Social Security, hopefully this presentation will help you or make you think again about claiming it early because of the future value of your benefit. So if your monthly benefit is $2,000 a day and annual cost of living adjustments are 2.6%, which is way low for the inflationary environment we're in right now, you could see your monthly benefit in 10 years would be worth $25.85, $33.42, and $43.20. The single biggest mistake I see when people estimate their own benefit in the future is that they don't add in a cost of living adjustment each year. So how much can I expect to receive for Social Security? Well, it's a function of two things: how much you earned over your working career, and it's very difficult to go back, obviously, and make more money in the past. So it could be your future or expected earnings until your retirement. And then most importantly, the age at which you actually apply for the benefit. So how is it calculated? At 62, each year's earnings are tallied up for inflation, and they have this formula called AIME. It's your highest 35 years of earnings. And then there's these three bend points. And so people that say that Social Security is not means tested today and one day it will be, well, that's actually incorrect. It is means tested because these three bend points, lower income folks get a larger share of their Social Security benefit on that first bend point. And so there is a way within Social Security that it is somewhat means tested, in case you were not aware of that. The benefit is increased each year by the cost of living adjustments. So even if you do not claim at 62 and you do not claim at your full retirement age, you continue to accrue cost of living adjustments. So just an example of the formula. Again, you don't need to know this. This is calculated at the Social Security office. They have a program that does this for you. But just realize that, excuse me, very dry up here at 6,500 feet. Just remember that your primary insurance amount, that PIA, that's what primary insurance amount, that is the amount of your Social Security that's estimated at your full retirement age. So if my full retirement age is 66 and 6 months, my PIA would be the amount that's on my Social Security statement that corresponds to 66 and 6 months. If my full retirement age is 67, then my PIA corresponds to what it is at 67. That's good to know, but why should I not claim early? Let's go over some of the reasons you may want to consider delaying. Your monthly benefit will be reduced, first of all, if you claim early. It's called the actuarial reduction. And most importantly, you could be subject to what's called the earnings test. If you continue to work from 62 to 67, that 5 years, right? If you earn over a certain amount of income, then your benefits may be actually completely taken away from you, and it's not a very high income amount. So when should one apply for benefits? What is the earnings penalty if collected before full retirement age? That's a good question. So it depends on when you apply before full retirement age. I got a chart here coming up in a second, Mo, that's going to show you exactly what it is. And then I see on the previous side, I believe I saw a gap between people born between 54 and 58. The people born between the time are either first eligible at either 66 or, yeah, so between 1954 and 1960. So if you're 1954 before, your full retirement age is 66. Each year after that, it steps up 2 months, 66 and 2 months, 66 and 4 months, 66 and 6 months. And then it becomes, if you are 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. Go back on a slide here. I believe you were talking about, well, I have a slide coming up that has them all listed out anyway. So just give me a little bit of time and we'll get to it. But good questions, and thank you for those questions. And then let's see if I address the other one here. Hey, Vanya, because I'm going through the slides, you just let me know if I have a question that pops up.
Will do.
Thank you. So I can stay on the slides here. All right, so when should I apply for benefits? This is going to be highly dependent on your health status, life expectancy, need for income, and whether or not you plan to work, and then survivor needs. I know it's very difficult to figure out what your life expectancy is, right? So no one knows how long they're going to live, but we could take cues from our parents, from family members. We also know our health status. I have in the past recommended people take Social Security early, but it was usually someone that had some type of significant health status where they were not potentially going to live, to be in their mid-70s. And so that would be a time you would want to consider taking it earlier. And then, of course, need for income is huge, right? If you need the income, then you have to take it. But if you don't, I'm going to go over why, or you may want to consider some reasons for delaying. So it'll be enough to live on a retirement. Most of you, if not all of you on here, I assume you have other sources of retirement funds, and we'll talk a little bit here in a second how they can all come together. All right, so this is the slide, I believe, that I was asked about. This shows the retirement ages here for Marcia. if I said that wrong, right? So this is a really important slide. If you want to take a screenshot of it or you want to come back and review it on the YouTube channel, that's fine. But this is your full retirement age. And one thing to note about your full retirement age, if you claim Social Security prior to your full retirement age, you will be subject to the earnings test. That's where they can pull away your Social Security if you make a certain amount of income. You also will be subject to what's called the actuarial reduction. And I'll go over those numbers here in a second. But as I said, from 54 to 1960, you could see it stair steps up 2 months. And then finally, 1960 later at 67. So I see a question from Rose. I retired from UCSD at 62 and am not collecting Social Security yet. I'm working part-time now. Will this affect my Social Security amount if I wait to claim? No, if you wait to claim until your full retirement age, then you're not subject to the earnings test whatsoever. So that is the very first time you can make $10 million a year and they will not reduce your Social Security benefit at all. Prior to full retirement age, if you continue to work, whether it's part-time or full-time, it's not based on whether you're part-time or full-time. It's based on whether what your actual income is for the earnings test. And so, again, if you continue to work, whether part-time or full-time, prior to your full retirement age, it's most likely not advantageous for you to claim Social Security because most or all of it will be pulled away anyways. All right, so back to the slides here. And here is the actuarial reduction. So if you're full retirement age, let's just use 66 as the example. If your full retirement age is 66, meaning you were born in 1954 or prior, and you apply at age 62, you get a 25% reduction in your Social Security benefit. If you apply at 63, you get a 20% reduction, so on and so forth. You won't get your full primary insurance amount or your full retirement age amount until 66. If your full retirement age is 67, you can see there, and you apply at 62, you get a 30% reduction, 63, 25%, 64, 20%, and so on. All right, so that is what's called the actuarial reduction. Now, what happens if you decide to delay? Well, if I apply at age 66, right, I get 100% of my benefit if your primary insurance, or excuse me, if your full retirement age is 66. Each year after that I wait, I get an 8%, what's called a delayed retirement credit. So you get an 8% increase in your Social Security for each year that you delay after your full retirement age. So if my full retirement age is 67, I was born in 1960 or later, you can see 68, 69, and 70. This is really important because if your full retirement age is 66 and you wait till you're 70 years old, you get 132% of your benefits. So you get that 8% each year compounded plus the cost of living adjustment each year. So more likely than not, your benefit is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 or 160% of what it was at 66 because of the compounding of the cost of living adjustment. Now, when I talk to folks about different sources of income, I say, well, if I don't claim my Social Security benefit, then I'm going to be $3,000 in a whole month. Where am I going to get that from? Well, most of you have probably saved in a 403B or a 457, right? And you may want to consider drawing down on that. And I'll show you here at the end of these slides exactly what I mean by that. So how do you estimate your Social Security benefits? Well, SSA.gov, right? And there's a little button that says estimate your retirement benefits, and that's where you can get that one pager that tells you what it is at 62, what it is at your full retirement age, and what it is at 70. So why delay benefits? Well, bigger checks to start. So if age at which benefits are claimed over here on the left between 62 and 70, okay, and the percentage of primary insurance amount, if your full retirement age is 67. So we're assuming that the full retirement age is 67, so you're born in 1960 or later. And you can see this is where people, I think, really get confused because they do not consider the COLAs being added on to as the actual reduction gets smaller or the delayed retirement credits come in. They do not think about the difference between with COLAs and without. And you can see here, if you wait till 70 and you're looking at your statement today and it says at 62, I'm entitled to 1960, right? So this is on my 62nd birthday is what this chart basically is saying. All right, you can see down here, it's assuming a primary insurance amount of $2,800. You may think, or your statement may say you get $3,472 in benefits at age 70, but really you're going to get almost $4,300 a month in benefits if you add in a cost of living adjustment. and I'm using a low cost of living adjustment. I'm using a mid 2% range. Imagine if the cost of living adjustments stay in the 4, 5, 6, 7% range. This number down here easily be 5,000 or more. So that's why you may want to consider delaying Social Security because of these humongous checks. The other thing to think about is when you get to 70 and you're in that Social Security age of retirement, right? You're putting more of your retirement income reliance more on a pension provided by the United States government versus maybe drawing down on your 403B or 457 or even your UCSD pension, right? This pension from the United States government has a true cost of living adjustment that is in line with actual inflation, whereas as you've probably seen in the UCSD pension, you don't get quite, especially in a high inflationary environment like we are right now, you don't get a lockstep percent per percent for your COLA in your UCSD pension. I got another question here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you want me to read them for you, or?
That's perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, from Karen. So are they applying COLA even though you are not yet collecting, even if your FRA age is 70?
Yes, that's correct. If you are not claiming your Social Security or you are claiming your Social Security, you get the COLA either way. So if you're eligible, as you are at 62 to claim, but you don't claim at 62 and you wait to 66 or 70, by the way, there's no reason whatsoever to ever delay one day beyond your 70th birthday. There's no more additional benefits, and they won't pay you back benefits for more than, I think it's either 3 or 6 months. So never delay beyond 70. But yes, you do continue to collect COLAs. Good question, whether or not you are collecting Social Security. All right, so on the next slide here, so why would you consider delaying benefits? Well, it's more income later on. You can see if you claimed at 62 here versus 70, right? By the time I get to 70, my benefit's 42.63 versus 24.07. But look at the benefit at age 80, 55.11 versus 31.11. You know, that's a significant difference. It's 60, 70% higher benefit. And one of the things that people don't realize or don't think about is the taxation of Social Security. California is a state that has decided not to tax Social Security. I think it's the only thing that California doesn't tax. So in the state of California, you do not pay any state income tax on Social Security benefits. It's also tax advantage, which I'll go over here in a second, at the federal level as well. So how do you maximize benefits? Well, first of all, you can improve your earnings record, meaning if you haven't worked for 35 years or you don't have 35 years of earnings, you're getting a 0 for each year that you have under 35. So if I've worked 30 years and I haven't worked 35, I've got 5 zeros in my AIME calculation. So you can go in you can work a little longer if that works out for you. Maybe it doesn't. You can also go back and make sure it's accurate, especially if you work maybe in the 70s and 80s. A lot of times we'll find inaccuracies on reporting, and you can get those fixed with SSA. And then are there any missing years? You always want to make sure that your income was reported properly so that you're getting the appropriate credits for Social Security. So applying for Social Security to optimal time, consider your income needs, both now and in the future, your life expectancy, and most importantly, and probably the most overlooked, is how does it affect your spouse for a survivor benefit? Real quick discussion of taxation, all right? Oh, so real quick, here's the actual rule on the earnings test. If you apply for Social Security before full retirement age and you work, $1 in benefits will be withheld for every $2 you earn. And this number's a little bit higher now. I think it's low 20s, but that's how they begin to reduce your Social Security. So if you, for example, had a benefit of $3,000 a month or $36,000 and you're continuing to work, you could just add that number to say 20. So if you make over 56, 57,000, they're going to take away your entire benefit. They're adjusted at full retirement age, so they're readjusted if they do end up taking the benefit. And don't let the earnings test discourage you from working, obviously. And to avoid the earnings test, as I said earlier, if you get to your full retirement age, then there is no earnings test whatsoever. You can make $10 million a year and all your benefit will come to you. Now, how is Social Security taxed? Well, technically it's taxed by a formula. It's down there at the bottom. It's called the provisional income formula. What do you need to know here? Not very much. These numbers aren't indexed for inflation, and I'm assuming most of you are going to be in this top left, married filing jointly, all right? Over $44,000 in provisional income means up to 85% of your Social Security is taxed at your ordinary income rate. It's not an 85% rate. It's at your ordinary income rate. 15 cents is never taxed at all at the federal level. Well, what does that mean? It means that Social Security, both at the federal level and at the state level, is significantly more tax advantaged than your UCSD pension or any withdrawals from your 403B, 457, or IRA. Those are all taxed at ordinary income, both at the federal level and the state level, and Social Security is not. So how do you minimize taxes on your Social Security benefit? Really, the only two ways that are realistic is if you have a Roth, right? And then if you you can also look at deferred annuities for some of your income. But the reality is most of you will be paying 85 cents on the dollar at your ordinary income rate on your Social Security benefits and nothing at the state level. So it still makes it much more tax advantaged. Remember that Medicare can shrink your Social Security check as well. If you decide to delay Social Security and you start Medicare at 65, you do need to arrange for your Part B and your Part D premium because normally it's pulled out of your Social Security check, but if you're not claiming your check, then you have to arrange for that to be paid for. I'll discuss that a little bit more on Monday in the Medicare presentation. So again, when to apply for Social Security, key points to remember. If you apply early, your benefit starts lower and it will stay lower for life. You can undo this to an extent, but for most folks, I highly encourage you to look at delaying your Social Security. COLAs, and I know there's some out there that probably say, well, what if I take my Social Security and then I invest it? Well, remember that it's a 25% increase. If your full retirement age is 66 and you're 62, you get a 25% increase in your benefit plus the cost of living adjustment. So let's say it's 3% a year. So you're looking at an increase in your benefit of roughly 35% if you compound that interest, 35, 40%. So you would have to take that check at 62, invest it, and then net after tax, do better than that because this is completely tax deferred. If your full retirement age is 66 and you delay to 70, you get that 32%, the 4 delayed retirement credits of 8% each year, plus the cost of living adjustment. Again, this is, based on the full faith and credit of the United States government, right? So it's, fully guaranteed, it's tax deferred, 100% survivorship, and has a huge tax benefit over your IRA, 403B, 457. Your benefit can be taxed and reduced to cover your Medicare premiums. Just remember that if you do claim Social Security early and you start Medicare, so don't be surprised at 65 if your Social Security check goes down a little bit because of your Part B premium. And don't let the earnings test discourage you from working, and delayed benefits may give your surviving spouse more income. We'll go over that a little bit more in Social Security Part 2. So third insight for couples, you should always maximize the higher earnings benefit benefit to protect the surviving spouse. This is what we're really going to get in the next presentation. So what I'm going to do now is switch gears on here and go to a whiteboard. Do this correctly. All right. And so what I'd really like you to think of when you think of the context of Social Security, I want you to think of it in the context of your retirement, right? And so favorite little drawing here. Here we go. All right. Everybody see the whiteboard? Vanya, can you see the whiteboard there? Perfect. Thank you. And finally, after 3 years, starting to get the Zoom thing down. So what are some of our sources of retirement income? Well, we've got our UCSD pension, right? So we'll put a P over there. We're obviously talking about Social Security. What are some other sources of retirement income, right? I'll call it an IRA, but we know that you can roll over a 403B or a 457 into your IRA, right? Consolidate it, your DCP as well if you want to do that. Then I'll put over here a T for trust or a brokerage account, think of it. And then you have some other stuff like maybe you have some real estate income, right? So we'll just put that over there. That's right. And this is what retirement most simply looks like, right? It all comes down here and it becomes what I like to call, and I'm not an artist by any stretch of imagination, this is your mailbox money, okay? This is your retirement income, all right? And so what I like for folks to think about when they think about collecting Social Security is, as we are early in our retirement years and we're putting money away and we're getting a salary, we're used to markets like they are now. They're all over the place, but you're putting money in, right? You're putting money in, you put your dollar cost averaging in, whatever you want to call it. So you're not as concerned about the market. But when you turn around and you go the other direction and you begin to take money out, then these concerns tend to heighten. Because now I'm taking money probably out of here, right, when the market's going up and down. And I know several of the UCSD funds last year were down 25, 30%. And you have to take money out of here because at 72, you have required minimum distributions. For some of you, that will be at 75, right, depending on your age. So when I like to think about it, this money is guaranteed, right? And you have no choice whatsoever. It is what it is. Your pension, you maximize that, and then it is what it is. But you pay ordinary income tax on it, okay? So that's guaranteed. Your IRA, you're going to pay ordinary income tax on that as well when you take money out of it, okay? And it's got all this volatility that we talked about over here for income, okay? Same thing volatility-wise over here in your trust, but you may have a favorable dividend rate, although California doesn't recognize any favorable tax rates or dividends. It's all ordinary income California, but at the federal level, maybe you get a dividend, maybe you have some tax-free bonds or something like that. So you can be a little bit more advantageous from a tax perspective here. And then if you have real estate, that's going to be all ordinary income. Somebody may say, well, minus depreciation. Yes, that's correct. But the real estate income is ordinary income. So that makes Social Security, because you have zero tax in California and only 85 cents on the dollar, makes it as valuable or more valuable than any of these other sources of income. Plus, Social Security is guaranteed by the federal government that has the unlimited ability to borrow money. Your pension is guaranteed by the California taxpayer. There's 35 million of us, and that's going down, okay? There's 330 million guaranteeing this over here, okay? So this has 10 times the guarantee and the ability of the Treasury to raise more money if they need to by printing it. California cannot print money, okay? This source of income in retirement has a lot of volatility, and it's all ordinary income. Markets go up and down. Same thing here, right? Real estate goes up and down. So hopefully many of you out there are starting to see the benefit of this Social Security in retirement, okay? Not only that, as we'll discuss a little bit more in the next presentation, you can pass on if you are the higher income earner, you can pass on 100% of your survivor benefit to your surviving spouse, which also makes it a very nice way of protecting your spouse in retirement. God forbid something were to happen to you and you've drained down a significant amount of your funds here, or your pension gets cut down because you didn't do the full 100% survivorship. So with that, we are 35 minutes in. This is Social Security Part 101, which is just kind of an introduction to some of the different terms and some of the different concepts. In the next Social Security, which I believe is next Friday, Vanya, or is it next Thursday?
Thursday, but Medicare is on Monday. So
that's correct, yeah. Okay, so next Thursday, we'll go over the concepts of, we're going to go over spousal benefits. We'll go over survivor benefits. We'll go over your questions. We'll go over a couple simple analysis. And so with that, I will open up the floor for questions. I heard something there. I'm sorry? Could you try again? No? If you want to type your question into the chat room, I'd be happy to answer it, or you can unmute yourself and ask if you like. I'll wait a couple more minutes here. Usually we have a lot of questions on Social Security. So again, on next Thursday, we're going to go over spousal benefits. We'll go over survivor benefits, and then a couple maximization strategies that you may want to consider when claiming your Social Security benefit. I know Social Security is a very, very complex subject. It took me the better part of 2 years to really, really understand and get it down. If you do have any questions, my email address is also there in the chat, and I'd be happy to answer your questions or provide you with one of the different questionnaires. Can Social Security be moved to? Oh, yes, it will be posted, right, Bonnie, to the YouTube channel?
Yes, it will be posted. It'll be posted.
Rose,
And yeah,
thank you
Marcia
for your
had
interest.
the question about
Rose,
the
please
trust.
send me
Can
an
Social
email.
Security benefits be moved?
Let me go back and. What was the question here? Can Social Security benefits be moved to a trust? Yeah, good question, Marcia. So you get your benefit. Let's say it's $3,000 a month, or let's say it's like $3,300 a month. And for simple numbers, 300 of it's taxed away, and your net benefit is $3,000. You can certainly take that and put it in your trust account if you'd like to. What if you're not married? Do any survivor benefits go to any children? No, Rachel, they do not. They only go to a married spouse, and we're going to go over that in part 2 next week, exactly what those rules are around a spouse. A good question, though. It would be wonderful if we could leave our Social Security benefits to our children, but unfortunately. Sounded like we have somebody trying to ask a question there, Vanya, but they aren't coming through.
Yeah, you did post your email in there again, and we'll share it.
Bonnie, I don't know if it's just me, but you're coming in very broken, so I don't know if anyone else is having a hard time hearing you, but yeah, very garbled. Yeah, I think it sounds like it's your connection, Vanya, sorry. Once again, I'll reiterate, if you have any questions whatsoever, you can send me an email. There's no charge or cost or anything like that whatsoever. It's all confidential. I'm happy to help any way I can. If you want a free analysis done, please also send me an email and I will send you the questionnaires. This will go to the YouTube channel, as Vanya has said, and then I'll come back next Thursday and go over a more advanced, what I call advanced Social Security, but part 2, where again, we'll go over survivor benefits, we'll go over a couple of rules of thumb, maximization of Social Security benefit, and we'll talk about spousal as well. Thank you, Karen, for the nice words there. And I guess I'll sign off now. Vanya, thank you very much. Appreciate it as always. And we'll be in touch and we'll see you on Monday for Medicare. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.